How's it going, everyone? It is Monday, July 15th, 2024, and let's get into the picks from the last video. First, I had DKS as a day trade long. And if you didn't see the live event, that's fine. I'll still talk about how I traded it. But I had a kind of this live video where I was just managing the trades bar for bar. It was a little bit long, but I thought it was pretty helpful for me. And it was interesting for me to talk about my live process throughout. So hopefully it was helpful to anyone who also saw it. But DKS, I took it right around here on this breakout at 1245. The market had a bullish trend day that day. We had a bit of a dip. Interesting thing to note here, on these really strong stocks, see how the stock popped up before the market popped up, but we had this 1OP cross. So that's pretty ideal. So that tells me that, hey, look, the stock is making its move before the market's making its move, and that tells me that there's some really nice buying. So we got in here, took partial profits here, because this stock tends to pop up, and as soon as it pulls away, it tends to pull back to that 8 EMA, so popped up, and then we scratched out of the remaining trade over here. This was a pretty big reversal in the stock, and the market had been pretty flat up to that point on the day. It hadn't really been doing too much, so certainly some weakness there. So we took profits on that, not as much as we did if we took full profits on the whole position, but this red candle was not as expected. So that's why we were a little bit more cautious, and we ended up scratching on the trade later that day. SMR. Nice breakout. So what we did was this stock again, nice grind up higher. D1 here, by the way, very strong and powerful D1. It broke through this high of the day right here, kind of poked above it a little bit. And then we kind of got in right around this poke at 1548. Went up a little bit higher, but then couldn't quite hold the breakout. Pulled back to VWAP, and then we exited for scratch or a tiny loss on SMR here, depending on which way you want to call it. It was a 13-cent loss on a stock that moves $1.14. So to me, that's a very, very tiny win or loss either way. So put that as a scratch in my book. So one scratch, one win. Let's take a look at what the market is doing today. And let's start with that D1 chart. So on a fundamental basis, we're still mildly bullish on the market today. We know that inflation's coming down. We're still watching the economy. It's still strong. The unemployment's low. We're keeping an eye on those ISM services numbers. We had a couple of readings in contraction territory, but nothing trending yet. We know that the market's pricing rate cuts in September. I know that's a little bit more optimistic than the current Fed rhetoric. And the other thing we have to keep in mind is the narrow concentration of the rally. That's been the talking point of a lot of pro traders recently. If we look at, here's a couple things you can look at here. QQQ, right, has been moving up very highly today. If you look at MAGs, which is the mega cap tech ETFs, that has been soaring up higher. And IWM and RSP have been very, very weak until the last couple of days of CPI. They have been soaring up super high, very, very heavy volume, major technical breakout. This is a huge breakout on IWM. So that tells us that there is some very clear sector rotation happening here. Same thing with RSP. This is the equal weight move. So there's a huge divergence here. And what is really saying is that if we just put QQQ up on this side, right, on a day like the 11th, it tells us that there's a lot of profit taking happening in tech, and then there's some reallocation happening in other sectors and other laggards specifically. So very powerful rebalancing, very strong rebalancing happening. So that's kind of the main story point recently within the past week. Now, we still have a little bit of AI tailwind, but I think there seems to be some talks of a slowdown. We're trying to figure out how to operationalize AI into something that actually churns out $1. So that's kind of the thing there. And there's some lofty valuations on these mega cap tech stocks. So, we'll have to see Asset managers aren't going to be as eager to chase some of these guys. If we look at some of the mega cap techs, they have been inching higher. So I'm not saying that they're bearish, but I'm saying that you don't want to chase these high of the day break, these all-time high breakouts, right? We get a breakout to new all-time high, then it pulls back, and we'll see if asset managers end up buying some of these stocks here. Whoops. Just take a look at the quick mega cap tech stocks today. Have them right here. And I like to have these in a list. This is one of the things I check every day because you just get a sense of, today I'm like, okay, these were strong, and now I see that some stocks are flipping today that were stronger earlier. Tesla was pretty strong earlier. Now it's rejecting off over here. Take a look at Apple. Apple has a nice grind up higher, has a gap up. It's holding that gap, actually, all things considered. So this could be a pretty decent, maybe potentially more advanced setup, but a decent day trade long setting up. Let's look at the Google chart here. Let's take a look at all these pretty quickly. Yeah, see Google pulling back. It's still trending higher, right? And you can see this sort of this wide bullish channel. Now we have mega cap tech earnings coming up in the next 2 weeks or so. If I look at my setup here, we have Tesla coming up this week on the 17th, Microsoft and Google on the 23rd, Meta on the 24th. We have the FOMC statement on the 31st, and then Amazon and Apple earnings are coming up on the 1st of August. So there's usually a bid into mega cap tech earnings, and that has me a little bit more bullish for the month of July. So mildly bullish. I think there's some opportunity to take some short-term swing scalps on the long side, and potentially even some very short-term put credit spreads. But the reason, and this is something I was thinking of earlier, right? Somewhere in early June and most of June, I was a little bit more mildly bearish because, we had this move up higher, it was drifty volume. We had some of these red bearish engulfing candles here. So there's some signs of selling pressure, but we're still kind of drifting up higher on very, very light volume. So that's kind of what had me a little bit more cautious. Now, as we got into July and we started to rally up higher, every time we really got some sort of dip, these dips have been pretty short. So there have been opportunities to get in earlier on these dips, but we had to be, this situation here, we're more cautious because we had this double top forming and we're leading on that. Here, we had this bearish hammer, so this was a nice opportunity for some swing longs. But we were kind of expecting a decent dip, and we weren't quite getting it. So now we're starting to get into earnings seasons. We know there's going to be a bid to mega cap tech earnings, and this was kind of the clue here where we just didn't quite get the dip that we wanted. So I was thinking about why I changed my tune. What caused me to change my market bias, and it's really the fact that look, I can expect a dip, but until that dip comes, I can't trade like the dip is here, right? We have to trade what's coming in front of us. So, right now the market is mildly bullish. We know that there's going to be a bit of seasonality. So for the short term, for the next 2 weeks, I can be a little bit more bullish, and then I can reevaluate the price action in August. And, I know there's going to be some seasonal weakness that has me to be a little bit more cautious, and also contextualize the price action that I'm seeing. So all of that being said, let's look at on a technical basis. We know that the bulls still have a little bit of weak control. We're having this light volume float higher, and we have some seasonality coming into play. I think we can take some very, very strong D1 stocks that are breaking out on some great entries, and we can kind of ride those up a little bit. I'm kind of still staying on the swing scalp side. I don't want to overload a bunch of positions. It's still a lightish volume rally. So, I'm taking maybe one or two really great swing longs at a time, and then selling them into strength. So going for that nice 1 ATR move, or potentially more if the market conditions set up. That's what I'm looking at. On a shorter term basis, still neutral over here. And it's sort of an interesting scenario. I think we're kind of in this wide bullish channel, and let's just take a look at maybe the H1 is a little better context here, where we had this compression, right? It was an orderly price action kind of move initially, but a pretty light volume. We're chopping around for a bit. We get this move higher. Then we get a deep retracement, right? You get a move higher, big retracement. So these retracements tell us that there are still sellers lurking in here. So we don't want to get too overboard, in my opinion, in taking a lot of swing longs. Where you can find some sense of safety is when you pick the right kind of stock. So a lot of these stocks, right? So this sell-off over here, this sell-off over here, these are tech sell-offs, right? These haven't been as much sell-offs on the other side of the spectrum. So I'm not really looking to take a lot of tech stocks into strength over here because they've been a little bit more weak. We want to get in on stocks that are maybe non-tech because they have not really been falling in these portions of the rally. So that's kind of the opportunities we're seeing here. Today we had a gap up. We had a decent move higher, new all-time high, and a couple of clues here. So if you missed the entry point on over here, right, here's your entry point. This buy signal here, 1OP bullish cross, right it up higher. Now, there's a couple things to keep in mind here. One, new all-time high. Every time when we make the new all-time high yesterday, we got a pretty big smackdown. Today, new all-time high, pretty big smackdown. So we want to be buying dips. We don't want to be chasing near the all-time high here. Second clue here, we got this nice, and I'm going to see if I can make this bar a little bit bigger, or even I'm going to take off the 1.0 vol for a second here. Oh, that's not taking off the signal. Just so we can see these bars. So look at this bar here, right? So we get a nice high volume candle, key bar breaking out, and then we get a pretty high volume doji over here. So we're digesting the move, and then this is the clue that we're at the end of the move. See this long green candle that had comparatively much lower volume than this candle here? So this light volume rally tells us that institutions are not buying this up. This is retail buying, right? Retail buying, retail buying, retail buying. Then we get the institutional selling, the flush out. Big, big, big flush out. So this is the clue that you want to get ready to take profits at the end of the move. It doesn't mean that the reversal is going to happen immediately. Still took 2 bars, but over here, we're closer to the end of the move. So we're waiting for the dip. We're seeing how the dip looks. And the dip is decently, I would say, a decent dip, right? We poke below VWAP. We have a sell signal. We're getting this 1OP bullish cross at a trough. So I think there's a nice opportunity to take a day trading long potentially, but I would be careful. I'd be pretty careful. And we could also want to see maybe this trend line breached on SPY at the very least. But we're going to lean on this bar right here. This had some volume coming in. This is a decent amount of volume. We want to at least get a close above VWAP here, and I'd love to see a flat bottom HA candle at the very least. So once I see that, then I feel a little bit more confident about taking some swing longs, and it tells me that the market is coming through. So it may set up, it may not set up. We have our 1OP bullish cross, so let's see if we can find some nice day trading longs over here. I have a couple stuff in my tags for today, so I'm going to sort them by range. Finance has been pretty strong today. I am liking Ally. Has got earnings coming up today. Beautiful steady grind higher. Really, really like this breakout on this stock, and it's riding up this 8 EMA. So what I would do on Ally is probably get in on a price close to this 8 EMA and see if I can ride that up higher. So I like Ally quite a bit. HUT is doing pretty well. Crypto has been very, very strong. Broke up, tested this level here. We got a bit of a double bottom, broke this downward sloping trend line, and now it's going higher. We have a bit of a, if I zoom out over here on HUT, so this line tells me that there is some D1 resistance right here, and there is on this high from, when is this from? The 23rd. We had a high of 2275. We also had a high here. Yeah, about 20. So there's a little bit of resistance potentially here, but the major resistance is going to be at the $22 level. So HUT, not too bad. EOG has been beautiful. Energy has been very strong today, and it has really no signs of slowing down. This is actually the first clue here. See this high volume candle right here? That means we're probably getting close to a dip. So I have an LRSI alert set on EOG and may trigger later in the day. JPM has been a nice move up higher. This is a beautiful breakout on the stock. through this downward sloping trend line above this this relative high, a new all-time high. We're through quite a bit of financials. We still have we still have some financial earnings coming up, so they could affect JPM. Certainly could work as a day trade. And this is the clue here, where here's a stock that the relative strength is hidden for the first half of the day as the market's rallying. And then when the market comes down, you see that the tide starts to come in. This stock is holding its gains. We broke out through here. We're kind of inching up to make a new high on JPM. I like what I'm seeing. This could be my pick of the day as a day trade. A couple of other ones. Why is Rock? Oh, that's the wrong list. I was like, why the hell is Rocket on here? MSTR, another crypto stock. Almost traded this morning, and I unfortunately I had missed my entry. So we're getting this double. We're getting a little bit of compression here, which is nice. That means we're going to get a nice opportunity. We are getting a double bottom lower high. So this actually may not be a bad entry point for MSTR. And I just may take this. But we're not getting the market setup that we need here. So being a little bit careful. A couple of swing longs that I'm liking here, by the way, as well. First, Zscaler breaking out of compression above its SMAs. It's in this upward, has room to the upward part of this trend line over here. We can probably ride that to probably about 216, even 218, depending on how fast it moves up. It is a tech stock. We just had earnings, so we don't have to worry about other earnings. What I would do though is check. So I know that Zscaler is going to be in cybersecurity. So I'm going to go to cyber, and I'm going to edit these columns, and I have a template for where is info? Info should have all the earnings coming up. Nice. So a lot of cyber earnings are actually pretty much done. So not a bad time to swing cyber. I don't have to worry about any stuff in the way. And can't talk. They seem to all have earnings not in the typical part of earnings season. So they either come a little bit early or a little bit late, depending on how you want to slice and dice it. So I like ZS quite a bit as a breakout. Another stock I like quite a bit here is CAT. I'm not sure how industrials are doing today. Let's check industrials. Industrials they're certainly one of the finance, comms, industrials, energy are certainly the strongest sectors today. Looks like CAT is doing pretty well. Trucking is very strong today. Okay, trucking. XPO up quite a bit here. Yeah, it's a strong move, but not really doing too much today. This is a nice way this is a nice top-down way to check it. AER. Yes, but I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole. But CAT is looking pretty nice. There we go. There's our MSTR breach. So I may be taking MSTR here if it can hold it. And that potentially could be my pick of the day here. Yep. And I know that crypto is going to kind of do its own thing with regards to SPY here. Yep. I'm liking this double bottom here. So that's kind of what I am leaning on. And the strength, especially when the market hasn't been doing too much. We could be finding some support here. Here is the open. So you can see that we open right here. There's a little bit of support at the open. We're close to this support. We know that there are buyers in here. So that buyers are going to defend this move. At least we're going to get probably some sort of pop-up here. So yeah, I'm going to take MSTR long. I'm leaning on two things here. One, I expect MSTR to get this breakout. And then two, I do expect that we hold this low over here. So that's kind of what I'm leaning on for MSTR. We have 30 seconds here, so I'm going to take the trade very, very soon. Very, very soon in this stock. Some tiny money candles here. A beautiful, nice volume on MSTR. So let's get this order ready. We're going to get into it live. Okay. All right. in MSTR. That is going to be the pick of the day. Let's see how we do on this guy. JPM selling off a little bit here, so we're going to wait for a dip on that. But yeah, that's it for today. Thank you for watching, everyone, and we will take a look at how MSTR did later today. And keep an eye on some of these swings. Some swings that I liked here, again, just to recap. MSTR, by the way, you could also swing. I think it's a nice swing. ZS is a good swing. And Cat, all nice swing setups over here. Liking Cat and MSTR the most at the minute right now. All right, let's take a look at how these guys did in tomorrow's video. Thanks for watching.